All right, I think I am live now. Let me just make sure that everything is up and running okay. I am. Let me just go ahead and share this. All right, yeah, I think we are good to go here. Man, it feels good to be back. It really does feel good to be back. It's been a while. It's absolutely been a while. Oh man. Let me just make sure that we are on the page and we're live there as well. And we are, I believe, yeah. All right. I think we are good to go, folks. All right. It's good to see everybody here. And just get back so I can, the whole live setup it is what it is. So I want to make sure that, we're seeing, everybody seeing it where they're supposed to be seeing it, and that we are rocking and rolling. All right. Yep, so we are good here, and I am going to go ahead and just share this in one more place. And then we'll get started. We'll go ahead and get started. All right, so we'll get that figured out. It has been a minute since I have been live. Listen, it feels good to see you all. Like, I am really excited to be back, to be doing all the things, to be just, back in the groove of things. I'm a little rusty, so it's going to take me a little bit to kind of just get back in my rhythm, but I am glad that you are here. So if you are new to me, my name is Ayana Sanders, and I am the founder of Warrior Womanhood. And it is, I think it's been a little bit of time since I went live. I think the last time I went live was probably September of last year. And so, but it's been about 2 years or so since I've really been in the movement and actively showing up on social media. And now I'm back, and this is the relaunch, and I'm really excited about this, and really just excited to be, with you guys tonight. So, I'm just going to share a little bit about what, Warrior Womanhood is, the hiatus, what's going on, what's happening, all the new things, I'm just really excited to be back. So yeah, the last couple of years, it just has been a time of deep healing, I thought it was just, I'd gone through a divorce, and so I thought I was just kind of recollecting myself and gathering myself, but really I was being rebuilt. And so at the top of 2024, which was interesting, God gave me this word rebuilt, and I thought that it was just, the word of the year, the theme of the year. I just didn't know that it was going to take on this whole life of its own, and the magnitude it would have and the impact over my life. And so, the past couple of years haven't taught me just about healing, but also recovery and rediscovery of myself. Not only just remembering who I am, but reconciling that with whose I am. And so, this is why I've called or labeled tonight's conversation the homecoming, because it's not just about coming back to warrior womanhood, it's also about coming back to me. And I want that for the women that I impact as well, for them to come back to themselves. And so we're going to talk a little bit about like, what does that mean, right? What did that look like for me at going through that process? And so when you take time to heal, life slows down. It strips away the noise. It reveals what is always true beneath your wounds. And healing shows that silence is not punishment. And I felt that for a while because for the last 2 years, God literally told me, do not say anything. He only gave me 2 times in which I could speak to any of my circumstances or any of the situations or anything that was being said or posted in regard to me on social media, that I could not say anything. And so that's why September were the only 2 times that I actually went live to address some of the things that I had been learning about myself, but also to address some of the statements that may have been made about me on social media. You know, as you go through different relationship changes, you start to see certain things happen. And so there was a lot of looking to the left and looking to the right. And God was like, don't even respond, just zip it, and I got you. Hey, Sonia, it's so good to see you here. Thank you so much for supporting and always sticking with Warrior Womanhood. I so appreciate you, ma'am. So that's what I thought it was. I thought I was being punished, but really it became my sanctuary. It became a place where I could just be broken in my own mess and work with God to figure it out. What does it look like? And we're going to dig into that a little bit. But when I truly started to heal, and you'll find this as you start going through your own process, you stop needing the validation of people, right? And you start believing what God has already said about you, because it's not new news to Him. It may feel new to you, but it's not new to Him. It's coming into alignment and into agreement with what He's already said about you. And so there were 2 questions that I asked myself consistently over the last 2 years. And the first one was, show me how much you love me. And so that one, I think I did a post about it. That one came from one of my mentors, and we had done like a 30-day journal prompt where every day we just asked God to show me how much He loved us. And we would just journal the little things that we started to notice happening. And at the end of the 30 days, we would see these collective sort of things that God had done throughout the day. And that taught me a little bit more about His provision. Because I think at that stage, it was like financial provision. That's what I knew. But as we started to do this exercise, I'm like, God, there's so many ways in which you provide throughout the day, small, big, all the in between. And it just got to see God in a different way. The second question I asked was, who do you say I am? So every time I came against the belief of who I thought I was, because of the transition that I was going through, how I saw myself as a wife, how I saw myself as a mom, how I saw myself as a woman, was all changing because the marriage had ended. And so you start to question, like, maybe I'm not a wife. Maybe I'm not supposed to do the work that I'm supposed to do. Maybe this is not where I'm supposed to be. And you start second guessing a lot of who you think you are. And so those 2 questions, every time they rubbed up against, I would go back and I would ask Him, and He would just continue to reveal to me, like, nope, this is exactly where you're supposed to be. And there's a reason why I'm taking you through all these trials and tribulations and what it's going to be purposed for. So before I get into what that kind of looked like, I want to just share a little bit about the evolution of warrior womanhood from the past to the present and what I hope for it in the future. So when I started this was really just a call to women to heal fast, because that was my process. God literally walked me through step by step, and He showed me how to, it's called self-therapy is a term for it, where there are certain things and exercises that you do to help you progress through whatever it is that you're trying to heal from. And so sometimes it was assisted with traditional talk therapy, but the majority of the work that I had done was self-therapy, and that meant that there were certain assessments that I took, and there were certain ways in which it was broken down. So there were guides along the way to help disseminate and break down this information. But really the goal was to move women from pain to purpose without traditional therapy, if they didn't feel that traditional therapy was actually helping them heal. Like, it offered a space to talk, but not really moving the needle forward. So over time, I realized it wasn't just about helping women heal fast. It was actually a calling. It transitioned from a mission to a mandate. And so from there, I started to see like this is bigger than just helping a woman heal from rejection or heal from abandonment or help a mom become confident in her parenting. It was more than that. It was like when I realized some of the things that were shifting in me, I started to see some of the changes in my kids. I started to see the belief and the confidence within myself shift. And I was like, this is kind of a movement. This is really a space where women who desire to leave generational health, not just finances, but like really want to leave a healthy legacy. Like this is a place for them to actually come and do that and then have a blueprint to actually walk that out. And so that's what shifted it from just kind of a coaching program to an actual movement, to a safe space where healing and identity meet, where we move from survival in our healing to surrendering our healing and really walking that out and still having the power that God has given us to be able to do that. And so in the beginning, I was teaching women how to fight for their healing. And now I'm teaching women how to surrender their healing while still walking in that power. Because as warriors, peace is our weapon. And so I really want women to walk in the peace, purpose, and God's promises as a warrior woman. Now, most people have asked, "Oh, what is warrior womanhood?" And I always like to tell them it sounds cute because you have the warrior womanhood, and I get it. But it really it's biblical back in Genesis when God was making Eve and he decided to call her a helpmate. But the Hebrew term that he used is an ezer, E-Z-E-R. And so that means, a mighty help, a mighty strength. But the other time that he used this term or referred to someone in that capacity is either himself or in a military definition or description for a warrior. And so that's what birthed warrior womanhood, because the same description, the same power, the same strength that he had given those and ascribes to himself was what he put in Eve, is what he put in woman. And so that's what actually birthed warrior womanhood. So it's not just about healing your wounds, it's actually about healing your lineage, right? And so this is why I use the term generational change agent, because I believe all women are generational change agents. We have the ability to heal, and when we do, we affect generations to come, right? Our children, our children's children, our children's children. And so it's about really healing the bloodline by first doing your work and healing you. So why does this space matter? And then who is it for? So I've talked a lot about what it is, right? And so this space is for women who you've done therapy, you've done fasting, you've done the prayer, but it still feels like something is missing. Like you might want a worksheet, you might need something to read, you might need to bounce a scenario off of someone. And so that's really what this space is. It's a hub for a woman who is emotionally aware, but still may feel spiritually weary, who's tired of survival mode, but wants to live free, right? She knows what she's called to do, but she can't shake this feeling of unworthiness. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this live tonight as a welcome back to warrior womanhood, but also remind you of who you are and whose you are, right? And so, when, we have that scripture, you're called, you're qualified, you're equipped, right? We know that. And so as I was going through the last 2 years, I didn't realize that a lot of the trials and tribulations that I was going through was really God qualifying me, which took me clean out. And I mean, financial struggles. I had issues with my car. I questioned my parenting skills. I had some, I have teenagers now, and that's a whole thing. I have 2 young adult men. That's a whole thing. And so, and I'm away from my family. And I'm trying to navigate having gone through this divorce, which wasn't my first. So this is my second divorce. I'm wondering, am I worthy enough to continue to do warrior womanhood? Because it is about helping Black women heal who might be wives, who might be moms. And I'm thinking, I feel so defeated in the 2 areas that you've called me to. How could you let me keep doing this? And I wrestled with him. And I'm telling you, we fought, we tussled for the last 2 years around God, am I really who you want in this role? And what he began to show me is the reason why you're having all these trials and tribulations, right, is because I'm actually going to use them for teachable moments when you're ready to relaunch. And I just thought, like, did it have to be this painful? Did it have to be all of this? And he said, you've asked me about feeling more authentic in who you are. And the only way that you can coach other women from a very real space is if you've actually experienced some of the trials and tribulations that they may have experienced. And so I want you to be so relatable to these women because I trust your transparency and I trust your vulnerability, that when you share these stories, they know that they know that they know that it's not fluff, that you actually been through some things. And I was like, golly. And he said, sometimes when I qualify people, it feels painful. And it feels like this can't be anything but punishment. And God is like, sometimes when you have to do the work to qualify, it's going to take a lot out of you. And so he said, think about when you see like athletes that need to qualify for an event. They have to practice and practice and practice. And that may mean that they sprain something or they hurt something or they twist something. Or even Simone Biles talked about getting I forget what she called them, but it's like basically, it's almost like a vertigo where she kind of loses her sense of space. And she might be tumbling and lose her sense of space, which could be very dangerous. And so even with that, she had to sit out. So he's like, it's even moments like that where there's disappointments, there are failures, but because you keep trying, when you get it right, you know that you're qualified to do the thing. And I was like, oh, okay, God, I get it. I get it. And so I spent the last 2 years, I guess, being qualified to continue doing Warrior Womanhood, which has been, whew, yes. So we're in a cultural moment, where women are waking up and they are deciding that they want to heal, that they want different for themselves, that they really do want not just the peace that we talk about in society, but this inner peace, this inner calm. And then really to walk in that as their power. And so warrior womanhood is the bridge between the two, where the external peace meets the internal peace, and we merge the two so that you can really authentically walk in that, right? Because healing is not just personal, it's actually generational. And when you come home, your children, your lineage, and your legacy also come home too. So I want to get into kind of the meat or the crux of what we were going to talk about tonight, which is remembering who you are and whose you are. And so to remember who you are is to reclaim what trauma tried to take from you, right? Your truth, your tenderness, your trust. And so it's also to remember who you are anchored to in this divine belonging. You're not what happened to you. You're not what you are what God has declared over you. And so I remember when I sat in silence, and I did a blog post about this, about just sitting in silence. And so I remember saying, like, God, I don't really recognize me anymore. Like, I'm a totally different person. Like, I don't even feel like myself. I don't even know that I even want to continue to do it. And so his response was like, that's because you've been living by labels and not by your lineage. And that just kind of blew my mind. And he said, when you remember whose you are, you stop negotiating your worth with people who didn't create you. I was like, my God, my God. I remember being told at one point, you wouldn't have whatever it is without me. And I had heard two things. The first was, without my financial support, you would not have been able to get where you are. And that was true. That was true. The second thing, though, I heard was that they wanted credit for who I became as a result of the support. And the truth of that was I was always going to be who God called me to be. And so that was the part where I came home to myself. Sometimes you have external folks that want to take credit for where you are, what you've gone through. But if God willed it, you're always going to, and you step into that will, you're always going to be who he created you to be. Like always. And he'll send people along the way to support that. But God always gets the glory. Amen. Amen. Right. Amen. And so I feel like coming home to God is the most radical form of self-care, of soul care that you can have. Because when you rest in his identity, you stop needing to prove yourself. So now as I'm coming back to warrior womanhood, I don't have this desire to prove anything to anyone. I know what God has brought me through. I know exactly how he did it. He gave me the blueprint to be able to help other women to do it. And I know that at some point he will send the sheep. I just have to continue to put my voice out there so that they can hear it and recognize it and know that this is what their soul was aching for, and that they'll have a safe space to be able to do it. And we'll talk about that safe space in just a minute, because I had to make some shifts to make it more intimate, more emotionally and psychologically safe for what we're going through. And that means I had to make some changes within the platforms and how we use them. But before I get into that, there was something else that he had brought me through, and I called it the fruit of soul care. And I was like, God, what is this? He's like, when women go through soul care, not just self-care, we're not talking about the manis, the petties, the massages. We're not talking about the staycations. We're not talking about taking a nap. We're talking about deep soul work. He said, there's also fruit in that. You know my fruits of the spirit, but I'm going to give you the fruit of soul care and what that actually looks like. And so part of the fruit of soul care is peace that doesn't depend on people. It's clarity about your calling, your boundaries, and your worth. It's courage to walk away from what no longer fits, and the conviction to walk toward what God is building in you and through you. And so he gave me these 5 C's of the 5 fruits of soul care. So I'm just going to go through it briefly, but tomorrow on Substack, I'm going to be sharing a video in which I go into great depth about what these 5 fruits are, what they look like, how they show up in your life, and how you know that you're starting to exercise soul care. But for tonight, I'm just going to give you a quick, brief overview. So the 5 fruits of soul care. First one is confidence, right? You stop apologizing for existing. The woe is me. I don't know if this is right. I'm just trying to figure out. Let me see. And like in true full transparency, that's why I kept doing the start and stop, start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. And so it led to brand confusion. People didn't know what I was doing. They didn't know if they should continue to follow me or not. They would receive certain messages, feel like they're getting a word from God, and then not hear from me. It impacts your consistency. And so when you operate in this level of confidence, you stop apologizing and you show up. Whoever needs to hear it is going to hear it. If they hear it from me live, if they hear it from me on replay, then it is what it is. I'm not going to apologize anymore for being me, for showing up. He hasn't taken my last breath. That means that every day I have an opportunity to exist. And I get to do it in the way that he's called me to do it. And so do you. The second one is clarity. You see yourself and your path differently. I'm all about legacy now. It's all about generational health. It's all about what I'm passing down. Because I don't know the number of days that I have left. But I do know whatever I have left, I have the opportunity to continue the healing work, to leave something different for my family and for my children, to show up healthy, mentally, healthy, emotionally, healthy, physically. And I still work out the kinks. I'm not perfect at it. I'm still trying to figure it out because I have adult children that I never had before. Like, this is the first time I'm ever going to have them at their age that they're at now. So I'm always growing and I'm always evolving with them. And then there's new versions of me that are birthed through whatever boundaries I want to set, through what I believe, what I value. All of that becomes clear. And the more clear it becomes, the more aligned my path is, right? He's a lamp unto my feet and a light onto my pathway. your capacity. You can love without losing yourself. There were so many relationships that I had to adjust, so many relationships that I had to shift as a result of the transition that I was in. It was nothing against anybody, and it wasn't personal. It's just recognizing that who I am now is different, and that relationship probably couldn't sustain who I am now. Not because I'm better than anybody else, not because I think I'm different, not because, for any surface shallow reason. It was really because I'm about God's work now, and there that requires me to make room for other relationships that need to come in that might be more in alignment with where I'm at in this season of my life. Does that make sense? So I didn't end relationships. I realigned them. I readjusted them. So now they have a proper place based on how we communicate, based on how often we see each other, based on what we mutually desire in a relationship, things like that. So my value in looking at relationships has shifted. So I've just placed people in different categories that are more applicable, and make more sense and are actually more appropriate. That increases my capacity then to have the relationships that I need without feeling like I'm losing myself, or I'm cheating myself, or I'm being fake. Does that make sense? The fourth one is courage. So I can walk away from what doesn't align. Again, like with the friendships. And I don't feel bad about it, because we do sometimes outgrow people, places, and things. And so we just make those shifts. And so you don't have to make these big announcements that we see on social media and all these different things. And so you just get the courage to be able to say, this is what I need in this season. And it doesn't mean that I don't like or don't want or can't do. But in this space, this requires me to have this. And the last is conviction. You move with purpose, not perfection. So tonight I literally have my notes on a screen on to the side. I was super nervous about starting. I was almost going to reschedule it and postpone it and do all the things. And I've been following a couple of new women over on Substack, and they continue to push the message to do it imperfectly, because that counts too. And so that's why I'm just showing up. I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to give the message that God gave me, and then I'm going to shut it down, and I'm going to let it be what it is. But I'm going to continue to do that, because what's going to happen is eventually the traction will come, and I'll regain the people who need to be in the community, and they're going to go back and they're going to look and they're going to see a history of, she posted this, she posted that. Wow, I didn't know she needed that. A message that I may have did a preach and teach on 2 years ago may be relevant to somebody now. Just keep showing up, right? And so now I'm just sort of in that conviction. So healing doesn't just change you, it changes your lineage. I want to keep repeating that. This is what it looks like when you start to live in your healed identity and not just survive it. You know, I had to ask God how to thrive, because I literally did not know how to thrive, because I had been in survival mode for almost all my life, that I did not know how to actually thrive. Like I had gotten to a place in my healing that I was like, I think I'm good. Like I had done 4 years of intense therapy, and I had also coupled that with my self-therapy, and I got to a place of like, I like me again, and I think I'm good. I'm not the perfect mom. Maybe God will will it for me to be a wife again. And I like who I'm becoming as a woman. And I was like, okay, so what do I do now? I don't know if you guys remember the Truman Show, where you watch him go through his whole life. He doesn't realize that it's actually a reality TV show, and everybody in his life is hired actors, until the end, when he gets on a boat and he realizes he comes to the end of the set. And so like they have this water that's part of a set, and he gets on it and he's rowing because he believes he's in the ocean, and he hits a wall, and he realizes that it's just a set, and he's trying to figure out what to do next. And so now the broadcast abruptly ends because the show is over. He's come to reality that he's on a TV show and he's trying to figure out what to do next. I kind of hit that same wall of survival where it was like, so how do you thrive? Like, what do you actually do to thrive? And so now we're starting to peel back these layers because sometimes we think thriving is self-care. So if I came on here and I had my hair done and I had my nails done, I had my makeup done, I had my lashes, you would assume that I'm thriving. And I didn't want to just feel that. I didn't want to just show up with a new photo shoot. I didn't want to just show up glammed up just to show that I'm thriving. I'm like, God, what does it actually mean to thrive? Not just be successful. Like internally, I want to know that I'm moving forward. So how do if I can't figure this out, I need to figure out how I'm going to help other women figure this out. And so we realize that it's not just a mood change. It's not that. That thriving really looks at alignment. It looks at you being aligned in your values, your beliefs, what God says and who God says you are, who you believe you are, and that's in alignment with what God says. And from that place, you thrive. From that place, you move forward. From that place, you walk in authenticity. That's where we're trying to get women to be. In this place that I remember having someone walk up to me. I was nearing the end of my therapy time. I knew I was coming to an end. And she, deals with like energy and things like that. And she walked up to me and she said, wow, who you are and what you say are in alignment. And I had probably known this woman all of like 24 hours. And that was the biggest compliment, to know that what I'm saying, what she's experiencing, match. That she didn't have to second guess. And that's what I want for the women that come through Warrior Womanhood. I want you to have, that kind of alignment. So this is a call back to the community. This is a call back to Warrior Womanhood in its new shape, in its new look, in its new outlook, bringing you back home to yourself, bringing you back home to God through healing. Healing emotional wounds, healing trauma, healing from toxic relationships, healing from your mother wounds, healing from your father wounds, even healing from sibling wounds. Because, child, let me tell you, there are things that came up that I didn't even know were a thing till I actually started going through it. Because I want you to feel powerful in who you are as a mom. I want you to feel powerful in who you are as a woman. I want you to feel powerful in who you are as a wife. But before any of those things, you're always a child of God. So it's getting back to that first before any of the titles. And we're actually going to talk about that next week. in 2 weeks. So what are some of the changes that are happening with Warrior Womanhood? If you were used to me a couple of years ago, I went live every Wednesday. Now we'll be going live bi-weekly. We're also changing the platform. So we're shifting from Facebook and a heavy social media presence on Facebook to a platform called Substack. The reason why we're doing that is because the platform is a little bit more intimate. I don't have to chase algorithms for you to be able to see my message. It's free to subscribe to get any of the posts, updates, notifications, etc. Unfortunately, I could not go live on Substack tonight because you do need to have a minimum number of subscribers in order to be able to do it. So if you're seeing this, please head over to Substack, search Warrior Womanhood and subscribe, and I'll put the link below this video as well. But it is a safe space. It allows you to be able to communicate with women without worrying about, is it going to be shared, or in this social media group, screenshots and all the things, because I've seen a lot of that now going around in a lot of the groups that I've joined, and I just don't want that for Warrior Womanhood. But it is a space for women to heal at the root, to reconnect to God, and also raise and rise up generational change agents. So this is your invitation to come back to yourself, to remember who you are, and to remember whose you are. Right. And I'm telling you, you'll find so many other women and communities, women of faith, who are on Substack. I mean, their messages are just amazing. They're absolutely amazing. So don't just follow me, follow other women of color over there who are of faith, who are really working to engage their audience in a more intentional and a more intimate way. Over there, you'll see I already have blog posts up. That's where you'll see the 5 Fruits of Soul Care video that'll be up tomorrow. I'm posting bi-weekly blogs. I'm doing the bi-weekly Warrior Wisdom Wednesday. And then eventually we're going to be rolling out some paid subscription opportunities, like a paid membership community that allows you to have access to what's going to be starting soon. It's called Masterclass Mondays. And that's where I'm teaching a little bit more in depth. And it's a smaller community to be able to do it. You can ask questions. It'll be held on Zoom so we can have that feedback and that one-on-one. I'm really trying to be intentional about all my touch points. I don't want to just be putting out random information. I don't want to be chasing algorithms. I don't want to be trying to monetize. I think it's great that we have that option to do it, but I'm really focused on women healing. Okay? So listen. This has been the Warrior Wisdom Wednesday. I can't believe I got through this, y'all. We here. We back. So if this message resonated with you, just type "I'm home" in the chat. And if you are ready to go deeper, you want to stay connected, I encourage you to meet me over on Substack. And the platform name is Warrior Womanhood, just like it is on all the social media platforms. And so listen, may this season be the season where you stop surviving and you stand in the fullness of who God created you to be. I have missed y'all. I thank y'all so very much for showing up tonight, for supporting me all this time, for being patient, for extending grace and understanding. It's worth it. I can tell you that for what God has showed me, it's worth it. Even if you just stay connected with me here or Substack, or you end up joining the coaching program when it opens, I thank you. You could have been anywhere else tonight, but you chose to tune in. And so I'm just so grateful for having you here tonight. So our next Warrior Wisdom Wednesday is going to be on the 22nd, I believe. So not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after. And we're going to be talking about, so if you were familiar, every October, November, December, I called it the Power Series. And so October was the power of your value. And that's why we kicked off tonight talking about worthiness and soul care and healing and why it matters. And I wanted to do that first by showing you what I went through. And next, we're going to be talking about what your worth is beyond any of the titles, beyond any of who you are as a mother, who you are as a wife, who you are as a friend, who you are as a daughter, who you are as a sibling, who you are as an employee. We're going to be talking about how to recognize your worth beyond that. Because that was one of the questions when I was at my lowest of lows. God said, if you take away all the titles, if you take away all the roles, could you just be the woman I called you to be? And at that point, it was 2016. I didn't know who she was. I'm like, God, I don't know who you're talking about. Could I become who? And so he brought me through this. And so, we're going to be revisiting what that means. Because you need to realize that you are valuable before anybody else says that you are. You were born that way. You'll die that way. And actually, there's nobody on this earth that can take away your value. The only person that can take it away is God. And when we start to stand in that truth, we start to move differently. So listen, just remember as I close out that peace is your portion, healing is your inheritance, and you are home. You are a child of God. You are the daughter of the Most High. He's created you for a purpose. But we need to heal so we can authentically step into that purpose. Amen. Amen. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. When this downloads, I will upload it to Substack so the folks over there can see it. Please go subscribe. It is free. It won't cost you anything, and I promise you, you will be blessed by the platform of all the women who are there. It's not woman centered, but just who I follow. But you can find, and it's not noisy like social media, which is something that I love as I'm coming back and doing things in ways that's authentic to me. Amen. All right, so I'm going to return you to your evening. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I wish you all an amazing night, and I will see you all live in 2 weeks. But come over to Substack, and you'll still see the posts, the blogs. We'll have a new blog up next week. There's a new blog posted today about homecoming, and I can't wait to see you all then. Until then, you all take care. Have a great evening, guys.